Hi, Jonathan. Very nice to meet you, and thank you very much for joining me. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Joseph. Yeah, nice to meet you as well. I'm glad to be here. Hopefully, we'll cover a lot of interesting topics.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate you being here. Jonathan, before we dive in, can you tell me a bit about yourself, how you discovered carnivore? How did it all start for you?
Sure. So I guess my first introduction to the carnivore diet would have been about 16 years old, so 15 years ago. I did a diet for a bodybuilding competition, which was consisting of tuna, then five cans, 5 tins a day, plus an egg. Not very sustainable, not much fun. Got mercury poisoning. I did get some benefits at the start though, but back then there was no carnivore diet. It was just I'm following a diet with very low fat, moderate high protein, and no carbs. There was the concept of carnivore wasn't there. I never bothered with salad anyway or vegetables much, so it wasn't really a mission in that sense. The time went on, my health got drastically worse. I had a rugby injury, resulted in basically a I won't go into too much because it's not very fun. It's very dull to talk about. But a history of health problems which were not corrected by the medical health system over here, the NHS. It left me with a fused spine as a result of an injury I had when I was 13. That left me with a much worse condition now called CRPS, which is the most painful condition known to man. It's significantly worse than childbirth, significantly worse than amputation, and the pain is exquisitely unreal. So I'm talking pain that will make you wince if you stepped into my body for a minute. So I have to use various different methods to modulate inflammation. My training style as a carnivore bodybuilder is very specific. It emphasizes safe form, control, good technique, things like that. I'd say I'm one of the more strict carnivores out there, but every now and then, when the time is right and I feel up to it, I'll have a meal out of family, which will be just a standard British sort of meal. For example, a roast dinner, maybe something like that. That might be every 2 months or so. Outside of that, I'm 99% plus carnivore year round time. Um, Now, when I actually started carnivore, so I could say this is my pinpoint. This actual day I started carnivore as we know it. So that'd be February the 2nd, 2020. So just before the global pandemic stuff started kicking off a little bit, maybe like a month before. Time I was working at a vegan area, observing observing the people that shopped there at the vegan health food shop was quite a failure. Everyone around me was spending hundreds on supplements, not getting any better. And usually, when people go somewhere for a product or service, you tend to think, oh, they're going to get the outcome from it. You go to the barbers, you get your hair cut, your hair looks better. You go to have your nails done, your nails look better. Stuff like that, for example. Um, and I didn't see the same sort of prospects of them. I knew about the carnivore diet already, so at that point I was following Professor Bart Kay, who I am a big friend and advocate for online. He taught me a lot of what I know, as well as Harry Sopanos and DC Rebuilding. So I recommend guys check those channels out on YouTube. Great content, obviously. And I followed him for perhaps 9 years now. So I was not a carnivore following a advocate for a couple of years before I actually started. That was when things got a lot worse. I was working full-time job, 50 hours a week plus, managing very tricky staff. It's quite mentally and physically taxing. So I also live with a condition called autistic spectrum disorder, which is not Asperger's, which is no longer diagnosed anymore. Simply so autism. Present well, I can communicate quite well, but I do suffer with extreme sensory overload. That sort of compiles itself with the CRPS, the pain balloon. It means it's quite challenging socially and physically. From a mobility standpoint, I use a walking stick like a cane to go around. I have to use medication, albeit a lot less medication than people on a standard Western diet. So I think I'm managing it quite well. Typically, people in my situation are on all of the welfare benefits possible. They're not doing any work from home at all. Like I be in bed as it's also known as suicide disease, the CRPS thing. So it makes people miserable because you're so limited in what you can achieve each day. But thanks to the carnivore community online, people like yourself chatting with me, keeping up my social circles where I can, going to the gym, doing all these sort of things, it keeps me strong mentally. I I actually started a fundraise which people can find on my channel if they wanted to. Give, send, go thing. Now, this isn't appeal to sort of people send me money, but if you want to, feel free. I'd be grateful for it. But basically, medical costs are not provided for by anyone. I have to pay for my own medication, and my bills each month for my health care alone versus a standard versus a twin, for example, that isn't with my condition, would total around about $1,000 per month. So I'm paying that out of my back pocket, basically. Wondering why I've got white tongue? It's because I'm doing a lot of gum. Nicotine is a pain-inhibiting agent, believe it or not. So for me, it's a useful little tactic to sort of use. That's white. Too much gum, basically. Yeah, that leads me to where I am now. So I'm basically managing life as best I can, making contact with people. I did my degree in human nutrition. That's where I get my expertise from. So I talk a lot about training on my YouTube channel, how to do things safely, how to improve health. I'm also trained in medical sciences. So yeah, I'll probably open that back up to you now to ask me any questions. But sorry if I've gone on a bit in about 4 or 5 minutes. But I'm a person with a lot of depth of character and a lot of things you can ask. So hopefully that will help sort of guide the conversation a bit.
Awesome, Jonathan. Yeah, that's quite a journey you have there. Yeah, so Jonathan, I've been following your story. Ever since I started my journey, you were actually one of the people I followed. Along with Dr. Chafee, Steak and Butter Gal, and then I watch a lot of story from Dave Mack's podcast about the transformational journeys. And I remember hearing your story about the spinal surgery, and how that progressed from your early years. And yeah, I actually wanted to ask you about that experience. How was the recovery, for that spinal surgery? I know you were already a carnivore, and then yeah, how was the recovery through that thing? Did carnivore help you pretty much?
I've got nothing to compare it by, as it was my first major surgery. However, compared to anecdotes online, I can say I was at the gym exercising. I've got videos on my YouTube channel evidencing that. You can actually see the timestamps, the dates, and everything. But yeah, I was still working out the safest point I thought was possible. Obviously, I wasn't lifting heavy weights. I was accumulating resistance and progression into it, so I wasn't going straight into what I was doing before. I would say it made my recovery significantly quicker from the surgery itself. I'd say I made exponential leaps and bounds in my recovery progress up to about the 2 to 3 month mark. Then I don't know what happened. It seems like one day I started to just get worse, like day by day by day, and I was like, "Is this just me doing too much? Do I need to scale back from the gym?" You second guess yourself. You think, if I messed it up, had all the scans, had the MRIs, had the tests. No, completely fine, nothing wrong. It turns out CRPS, just for those that don't know, it's a serious neurological, immunological condition that can result oftentimes from surgical procedures. Sometimes you might have a perfect procedure. For example, you might have a tooth pulled out, bizarre as it sounds, or you might maybe chip a bit of your nail off or something, like a bit of your actual thumb, I don't know. What will happen is you'll get constant pain in that area. That's what's called CRPS type 2. I've been diagnosed with CRPS type 1, but I suspect I have both, to be honest, at this sort of point. Basically, it's characterized by something called the Budapest criteria. That means there's things like swelling in the area, discoloration, hypersensitivity to pain, allodynia, maybe sweating or cooling in the area. So it's just part of your body. It just isn't right. It doesn't feel like it should be part of your body. For me, unfortunately, that is in my spine and mostly my right hip. And I exhibit all of that condition. I've been diagnosed by 4 or 5 healthcare professionals now, so I think it's pretty consolidated how my body is, basically. But yeah, I have to manage myself very carefully. So as I've got worse over the last 2.5 years, roughly, since my surgery, which was December 2024, I believe, I've actually had to sort of navigate things more carefully. So that means I can't just sit in a car now. I lie down on a reclined seat in a car, especially for long journeys. Um, if I go out somewhere, I'll be carrying a pillow or those office seat pad things you get to like soften the seat sort of thing, things like that. You'll often see me lying down on the floor in public with a pillow behind my back or my lower back, just because I can't stand for very long at all. My step count each day is 2 to 3,000 a day at a push. My mobility in that sense and things is very tricky to navigate. Obviously, it has its social turmoil, I guess you could say. So, for example, my brother tomorrow, I'm going to have a lovely day out. I have to medicate myself to get through that day. And it doesn't mean just do it in the morning, I'm fine. I've got to titrate things throughout the day. So, if I've got a cognitively tricky thing to do, so this isn't tricky, but I'm talking to you, we're collaborating, we're socializing. I'm going to be using different medication to what I'll be using tonight when I go to bed. So it's that constant sort of micromanagement. It's like having your own child, but your child is your own body. You've got to look after it all day. You can't just leave it and not change its nappy and stuff. So, yeah. In terms of that, I mean, my recovery is very poor. So I only train in the gym 3 times per week, but I get a lot done. And, on my YouTube channel, I share something called it's just a playlist I've got called Exercise. And people are going to ask in this video, perhaps, oh, how does he do this and he does this? The reality is I just train really, really, really hard, and I recover just as hard as I can train. I sort of manage and track everything I do. It's quite a selfish way of living, a very introverted, kind of cellular, modulated kind of way of living. It's the only way I can survive. I can't live a different way. So it can be quite challenging socially if some of my friends want to go somewhere. And the bar stools there aren't very comfortable to sit on. I have to go to a different bar sort of thing, so things like that. It's just not easy in some senses. But despite all this is a good part of the interview. This is a bit where everyone goes, all right, and claps their hands. So I won my professional bodybuilding card, which is just behind me there. So I'm the first carnivore professional bodybuilder in the world. And I did it on a carnivore diet, obviously. With a spine that looks like a Meccano set. And anyone that's wondering what Meccano set is, I suggest you Google it. I think it's spelled Mecano. Basically, it's like metal rods and pipes and tubes and things, screws. You build like robots and stuff. That's what my spine looks like. It looks like scaffolding. So yeah, I've managed to achieve quite a bit since, and I've got 2 upcoming shows, which are the British finals in 2 different federations, which I really look forward to, and they'll be in October, roughly 6-7 weeks from now. That's my thing I've got to look forward to. But like anyone, I live the same way everyone does. I sort of have goals that I anticipate and look forward to achieving, and I just set my objectives around them. So that's what I try and do. But hopefully that answers your question, Joseph.
That's awesome, Jonathan. Yeah, that's really cool. So what happened to your CRPS symptoms? Like, after you, the whole change took effect. Do you still experience like flare-ups, or have you identified anything else that triggers them? I'm guessing like what I'm trying to get into is like, how would you compare those pain levels back then to where you are now with carnivore?
I was diagnosed with CRPS whilst I was carnivore, so I've got nothing to compare it to. What I can say is the pain is unreal. I don't get flare-ups anymore. I'm always in a flare-up. So, because the pain level is so high, it's generally unmatched. So, the only pain I experience, which is greater than my current background default pain, is if, say, you kicked me in the leg or punched my arm, like really hard, or I could cut myself. That's the only pain I experience, which is a bit different. So a lot of people in my sort of state, this isn't like self-harm, but we experience kind of weird desires, but not desiring to hurt yourself, but more to change the sensation. So sometimes I want to just stick my head under a bowl of ice. I might want to put my hands on the side of a freezer sort of thing. Like any sense of cold or any different relief to me is sensational. So obviously you've got to be careful not to if I've got an ice pack on me, I will just leave it on me until it burns me. I've got to be careful about timing myself, so I can't sort of do too much in that regard. But for a point of perspective, I mean, context even, before my surgery, I was having maybe 2 bad flare-up days per month, um, maybe 1 or 2 a week. Well, I'd say maybe 1 to 4 a month, something like that. Nowadays, every day is bad, and I might get 2 good days a month. So it's like flipped around basically. So yeah, I sought out lots of medical help, and there's no one in the comment section right now that can help me. Just to clarify, so saying have you tried CBD and all this stuff doesn't it doesn't compute to a better, happier, healthier, less pain-free Jonathan. I'm doing everything, and there's nothing that exists on this planet that I have not tried that I can access. So my best bet is just to manage things as best as I can. So that's why I'm on these recordings of people like yourself, Joseph, to sort of share the information, spread awareness, share a bit of insight. Any expertise that I have as well from coaching people, I can share as well. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at now in regards to recovery and pain levels and flare-ups.
Wow. Jonathan, your story is really, quite inspiring, especially for me. I feel like, I want to follow some of your footsteps, leading up to the carnivore, and then, what you accomplish after that. And actually, with carnivore, it took me some time to wrap my head around it because, I didn't believe it at first. So I did like research for like listening to podcasts here and there, like about 4 to 5 months. What was your first say, like improvement, that made you think there might actually be something to this? Or, did you experience like gradually getting better? Was there specific symptoms you see, the most improvement?
I would say the biggest lever and issue is just cutting out the volume of food I was eating. I've been bodybuilding since before being carnivore as well, obviously, so I have something to compare it against. The volume of food, like the mass of food I have to eat, is much smaller than what I used to eat. Protein and fat are very nutrient and energy dense. So where now I might be, I don't know exactly, but say where I might be eating 2 kilos of food now, in the past I might have been eating 4. There's all that extra strain going through a gut, your digestive system's got to manage all the extra fibre, all that extra sugar day in, day out. So I was having a lot of digestive issues. I started to get more bouts of very painful inflammatory issue of the guts, basically. So I had that quite a few times in my life. I was constantly getting flare-ups with different viral flare-ups in regards to like my digestive system. I think that the most obvious benefits I got straight away, that I felt lighter because I was putting less food in my system. The second one was because I felt a bit more less bogged down, less blood in my stomach all the time. I felt that my symptoms of autism were more improved. So I became a bit more sociable. Anxiety went down a little bit. But I'd say I'm in a weird position where a lot of people start the carnivore diet and they talk about all these massive benefits. But for me, it's not a case of me doing it and getting, dropping 200 pounds, getting rid of type 2 diabetes, or, I don't know, growing my hair back. That's not worked. I never really tried, but I do shave my head. But yeah, for things like that, it's been a case more so of, if I don't live this way, I live a lot worse. That's the better of two options. And I'm a relatively young man. I'm about 31. I'm 31. So I've got maybe 60, 70 years left, I think. But if I can keep those 60 years quality, but still enjoy my random treats with family every few months, it's not a problem, And I enjoy carnivore diet. I like the food. I like the feeling of eating food and feeling I don't have to eat anymore. Previously, it was I'd eat my meal, be full, but then be like, I think I could eat more food. Like, I need to eat something. But I realised there's like a satiety centre in your brain, which be triggered when you've eaten enough of the right nutrition. If you don't eat enough nutrition, you can be full but not satisfied. So for me, that's quite a nice feeling. So it does. A carnivore diet for me does actually give me probably a better hit when I eat than standard Western diet. Oddly enough.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Uh, Building, like, how does that help with carnivore? I know I did try to enter a uh, what do you call this? The physique competition, just last year. But I kind of gave up because of activities. So I guess I just want to know from your experience, what is the prep like as a carnivore when when there's an event for bodybuilding?
It's a lot more simple because there's less margin for error and less margin for human elements of self-sabotage. Because you're not eating a lot of junk food or any junk food, you're not thinking about it. Because you're only eating, say 5 animal foods a day, you got 5 foods each day to measure, calculate, track, whatever it is you're doing. Because you're missing a whole food group and a lot of the carbohydrate content. I do have dairy and eggs, obviously, which do have carbohydrates. Um, you're just minimizing that human error element. Less to go wrong. So rather than looking at protein, carbs, and fats, that which include the carbohydrate insulin model, which impacts body composition, I'm only looking at pretty much protein and fat. So really, I kind of figure, well, my protein needs to be set at a baseline amount to recover. Then over the months, I just drop fat, and that's literally it. It's the best way to do it on a carnivore diet. Find the protein amount that hits your satiety signals. You feel full, you feel energized, you feel recovered, you've got the amino acids, vitamins, minerals, blah, blah, blah. Then you find your fat amount that maintains your weight. And all you do week by week or whatever period of time until you stall is just reduce the fat. And that's the scientific way to do it. That's the best practice. That's evidenced by various different studies. Well, basically on overfeeding, you got Dr. Antonio studies on high protein intakes, which are 3.3 grams per kilo and 4.4 grams per kilo. They found the more protein you eat, the better body composition outcomes you have. Up to a point, obviously. Not only that, but you got the research by Francisco Arencia Albaita from 2021, where he compared the calories in, calories out, which is called the energy balance theory model. Or just a theory, actually, 'cause it's not even a model, because it's not true. Then the model I'm talking about is the mass balance model. That basically includes the idea of the carbohydrate insulin model. It also includes the idea of mass in versus mass out. So this might be a bit technical, but I'll try and keep it simple for the average viewer. I know we're not all scientific people. You have the mass of food that you take in, so protein and fat on a carnivore diet, a little bit of carbs as well. That mass will compartmentalize itself into the tissues that it's specifically resourced for. Protein will turn into muscle, skin, tissue, hair, nails, things like that. The fat will turn into fat on your body, be a precursor to hormones, be part of an integral part of cell membranes. Pretty much every cell in your body will have some degree of lipid in it, I guess. But what you do basically is you look at that and think, well, if my current maintenance was, say, 200 protein, 200 fat, it's not. Let's just say it was for ease of numbers. Then you say lower your fat to, say, 180. You've dropped out 10% of your fat intake. Then what will likely happen is that will proportionately decrease the amount of fat in your body by a certain amount. Now, this only works truly in that kind of sense if you're structured your feedings, so your meals. So you're eating the same thing day in, day out, and you drop. They go from 2 tablespoons of butter a day down to 1. That'll be 12 grams less fat a day, 13 grams less fat a day, or something like that. So that should be about the amount that will drop off your body over time. But then there's a hormonal element which it does account for as well, which is the carbohydrate insulin model. That will compound the effect. So if you're eating sugar, glucose, and lipid fat at the same time, that will cause an inflammatory response, which will narrow the gap of how much that carbohydrate insulin model, the mass balance model, is true. So the idea is to keep your carbohydrates dead steady, dead stable, or just below 30 like I do. So that mitigates something called the Randall cycle. Now, the Randall cycle is something where it's a cross-inhibition of resources or substrates that go into the cell membrane itself. Then what happens is they'll be churned through, taken through the cell into the mitochondria. That mitochondria will have something called the electron transport chain in it. So that food, that protein, that fat, those carbs, whatever it is, it'll be broken down into their residual constituents to form what's called the proton gradient, or the photon gradient. I think it's called proton. I can't remember which one. I need to read up on that one. But basically, the food goes in, electron transport chain, and each one of those chains has a complex system in it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The idea is the food, once it's broken down into its smallest form, goes through and creates something called ATP, which is the cell's energy resource currency. The more ATP you have, the more energy you produce. The problem is you don't want to produce too much because you get mitochondrial overspin. That's when you create more oxidation and the mitochondrial spin at a rate faster than 9,000 RPM. They are literally little nanomotors which pump out the ATP. So think you've got a car wheel, it's spinning too fast. It's not getting grip, it's not getting traction, but it might be damaging the tyre. So think of it like that, in that kind of sense. Now what happens is when you've got a surplus of available potential ATP or effective food energy coming in, that overspill will then convert into fat mass because it's recirculating through the system. Then adipose tissue will be formed, glycogenolysis. I can't remember the scientific terms, biochemistry stuff. But basically, carbs into fat and fat into fat. So that's basically what happens. So the idea is to get your mitochondria upregulated so you can churn out more energy, so they can be more efficient, recover better, but not up to a certain point. Then when you get to do that, it's putting the right things in. Put the wrong things in, you activate the Randall cycle, too much carbs, too much fats. That causes an inflammatory response, which will buffer a lot of the impact of the mass balance model. So that's the first online ever description of how the mass balance model refers to the mitochondrial function and fat gain.
Yeah. Jonathan, so what keeps you motivated now in your journey? Is it like because you're feeling great and this has helped you a lot? Is it like are you creating awareness for people who don't know about carnivore, or pretty much like to support the community, or are you frustrated with the current medical guidelines and the nutrition? Yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
I'd say all three if I'm honest, Joseph. I personally try to stay, for me, I try to stay away from a lot of the, how do you get rid of autism? How do you prevent this? How do you attack the food system? I personally stay away from that because I can get very emotionally involved with topics like that. For me, dealing with my own healthcare problems, it's not a direct problem I want to tackle. It's not on my mind. Whether I know that I can spread the word by creating informative content like yourself, sharing knowledge, sharing experience, coaching people at an affordable rate online, giving out free resources from my website, creating ebooks. I'd say I do a tremendous amount for the community. I don't think I could do more personally. There's not an hour of the day I can go by and think I could do more. So I do live streams as well, Q&As. I try to make sure that everything I give out is as accessible as possible. I try to make things useful to people that want the science behind it, also understandable by using like careful analogies and explanations so people can think, oh, that's why we should do this. So it's not so much a case of me, I need to emotionally, you need to do this because you're making your family ill. No. That's not what I'm about. I'm about, here's the information, take it or leave it. It's your own funeral. And I think the people out there that want, to benefit themselves will find the information. Because ultimately, as bad as this sounds, as elitist as this sounds, this is only my opinion. I understand a lot of people won't like it. But, you've got to help yourself. You can't be responsible for everyone else. And if someone is out there, they haven't come across this, maybe they've got CRPS even, my condition, autism maybe. If they haven't come across this, I need to work harder, one. Also on their part, they need to find out for themselves what the issue is. How do they tackle their symptoms? What diet do they need to follow? Are certain medications they should or shouldn't be on? Things like that. So I think it is a case of human evolution in a way. If people choose not to get themselves better, people choose to make themselves unwell, that is self-sabotage. Because we can, I can't speak for everyone out there in the world, but we all have access to a computer or a handheld mobile device. We can Google something, we can use AI, there's free apps. You can find out the information you need. And if you need to verify what I'm saying in this podcast, guys, you're listening to this, verify it, check. Check for the transcript after the video. Is that correct? Is Jonathan correct? Is that wrong? Is this helpful advice? Does this apply to me? you can find this stuff out for yourself. The information is all out there, and there's lots of creators like Joseph out there, creating useful, helpful content, interviews, podcasts, and things. So you've got no excuse. You just got to pick up your phone. And I live on my phone. Nearly everything I do, other than this podcast, for example, which I'm sat in the studio area, is on my phone. So it's a very useful tool. I do emphasize to people, the information really is out there. It's every question I've ever had from a client or in a podcast, a live stream, even the most bizarre diseases, I found the answer somewhere. It might not mean that the fix to the problem is straight away or it's there, but at least you can understand the mechanism behind it, the pathology, how someone might improve it. So that's been my experience. So yeah, I'd say I really do a tremendous amount for the community, and part of my motivation for that, just the back end of that, I guess you could say, is the fact that about roughly a year and maybe 15, 16 months ago, I had a mental breakdown, an absolute crisis. I was suicidal at the time, and I was dealing with a lot, and I wasn't getting the help I needed. I really wasn't. Now I thought, what am I going to do? So I reached out to a few friends online to ask their advice. They came to the same conclusion I can and have. There's not a fix for CRPS, not in my state, not this far along, and how long it's progressed from. So usually within about a year or two, you can sort of improve it, but by this point, it's hardwired in my brain. So unless someone swaps something on my brain, I'm not going to be able to change it or remit any sort of symptoms. So yeah, my friend DC from Australia, he set up basically a fundraiser, just to help my medical costs. So it took a bit of the burden off me, and I had maybe 100, 200 people donate to that cause, which I'm very grateful for. My promise to them, I never made it publicly, but I made it to myself. So I knew I wouldn't lie to myself. I internalized it, but was to make sure that I could help other people. So still do live Q&A, still spread out information, and help just pay people the best of my ability, my capacity. So yeah, I'm still running that fundraiser. It's been helpful. But the thing is, when people donated to that fundraiser, my thought wasn't, oh, that's great, I can spend on my health supplements, food, medication, whatever it is, air conditioning units, because I'm always boiling hot. What I've basically found is that it's almost like a bet on me. Like, I bet on this guy, he's going to do something. I want this guy to stick around. And I've come to fruition on that, absolutely. I'm still here, I'm still making content. I'm the first professional carnivore bodybuilder ever, and I'm the best in the world at what I do. I can't, but so for me, I'm now in a position where I've done that, I've ticked that box. How do I pass it forward? So that's what I'm trying to do now. So apologies if that sounds arrogant, but unless I say it, no one's going to realise. What I've achieved is tremendous, and I do get a lot of credit for it, but I think people need to know. There is a carnivore bodybuilder out there with severe disabilities, nailing it against people who are not disabled. So that speaks volumes to the carnivore diet itself. That's its own testimony, in my opinion.
That's awesome, Jonathan. I really like your approach here and the mentality. Yeah. So looking back at the carnivore journey, were there any mistakes you made, like in the beginning, and how did you learn from them? If there's any mistakes.
Yeah. I made a few mistakes, but mainly due to influencers online saying things which were incorrect or not useful. I started off eating too lean, and I wasn't really eating much beef. My standard diet when I first started was like, if it was beef, it'd be like the leanest beef burgers, very lean salmon, lean tuna, chicken breast. I forgot the fat part of it. So, yeah, I didn't really realise that. And looking back in hindsight, I would have done a much higher fat content in my diet. So that left me sort of binging a bit more when I first started, I think. Just because I wasn't that satiated. Another mistake I did was the carnivore priming protocol, which has been proven online now to be the most useless thing online, other than perhaps breatharianism, veganism. No, it's not that bad, guys. But I've just found it has such little utility for most people. 95% of people I've come across personally or read online about have not experienced the benefit. They've got bloated, they've lost sleep, they've gained weight. Then they advertise it as, oh, it's a great fat loss booster. No, the priming is not the fat loss booster. Most people gain fat on a priming style approach. It is the fasting they are doing after when they're not eating that is causing the fat loss. Who would have known? But then they're advertising it as if it's the priming. It's not the priming. Things like that I've been quite anti, and I only go by my subjective reality, what I see, what I observe. So that's what I've observed personally. And that's what these interviews are for, to get out a bit of information where you might not otherwise hear it. Because, all you hear is whatever the latest, greatest podcaster, YouTuber is saying, but it doesn't come to fruition when we actually look at what is actually happening out there. So, and I'm sure I've made mistakes along the way of mine where I've made a video. I think once I said deuterium was a heavy isotope of water. It's not. It's a heavy isotope of hydrogen. So I got that one wrong. So, yeah, it was such a things like that are such a minor mistake. No one's going to be impacted by that. But in my head, I look back at that mistake and my content and think, God, I wish I never said that. But yeah, we'll strive to be better. But yeah, the two biggest mistakes, definitely eating too lean at the start and priming. Definitely.
So, Jonathan, what does a typical day or week of eating look like for you now? Do you stay pretty much consistent, or do you switch things up from time to time? Maybe you can walk me through. Yeah.
Sure. So this is my wording for anyone else that starts using it. I believe the body is a biologically dynamic system. So that means our body is not the same, which means when someone asks me this question, I know you're asking me for the point of context of the interview itself, that makes sense, discussion point. But when someone asks, I'm Bob, what do I do, Jonathan? What is your diet? It does not apply to someone else. I say now will not mean it's what I'm doing a week from now. It's what I'm doing today. So most of my meat, for ease of access, for digestibility, is slow cooked, personally. I can't eat 2 kilos of meat a day raw, guys, so don't ask. I've tried it, can't be done. Cooking it seems to be making it more hyper palatable for me. On a typical day right now is, as I'm cutting for a competition bodybuilding show, it's about 1.4, 1.5 kilos of meat per day, raw weight. I might do 3 or 4 eggs. I might do a bit of cheese, maybe. A bone broth, protein powder, some gelatin powder, broth powder, stuff like that. I eat fish, dairy, yogurt. I eat a very mixed carnivore animal foods diet. I don't eat like beef and eggs. I eat animal like fish. I incorporate what I want based on feel. But at the same time, whilst balancing my health issues with the right foods, I try to balance also it with my practical goals, my objective goals. So I want to win a bodybuilding competition. I love beef brisket with loads of cheese in it. It's one of my favourite meals. Right now, it's not. It's got to not be my favourite meal, because I'm not going to lose body fat from eating 200 grams of cheese a day. It's just not going to work. So yeah, my diet does change, but the foods remain the same. That's what I want to get across. But what I'll do is just leverage the fat. So maybe 6-9 months ago, I might be having 250, 300 grams of fat per day. Now I'm on 120 grams of fat per day. It's not much fun, but it's still more than most people were eating, so I can't complain too much. But yeah, I just leverage the fat intake, but everything else remains about stable. But if I'm out at a restaurant, I'll usually get burger patties with cheese, maybe some eggs, if they do it. I don't eat pork, because I don't like pork. That includes bacon, obviously. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's nothing too interesting. There's nothing I'm doing which the average person out there couldn't do, really, other than maybe afford all that food. So.
Yeah, I like this. Actually, pork might be also, doing something bad for me also. So I might just remove this in my diet also. But Jonathan, so is there anything hard about being carnivore for you? Some examples of this would be, like social gatherings with family and friends who are non-carnivore. For me, the travel, where you have to scout, I don't want to starve, when I'm somewhere, or maybe the cravings took a while for me to get it out of my system, like over a year. What about for you? Is there anything hard about being carnivore?
Um, this one will surprise you. No one's probably ever said it before, but the amount of boxes of meat and packaging I get through is unreal. If you think of a kilo of meat, that's like a big box that big, you know, with the cling film wrapping like the seal and stuff. Yeah, that's a nightmare. So we have 2 recycling bins in my household. That's probably the most annoying thing, just because the bin's always full. Outside of that, shopping is easy. I take advantage of coupons online, so I can actually. This is a trick people actually watching can use. This is practical, useful advice. If you've got Gmail, and you've got the Gemini AI system. If you go onto your email, click on the Gemini app, and be like, find me all the emails with recent, in-date, not expired coupon codes for grocery stores, something like that. It'll be like, oh, you've received all these different things recently. So that's what I'll do. So actually, I'll sign up to all of them. Then when I'm about to do an order, I'll be like, oh, you got £10 off £100 spend today. Brilliant! I've saved 10% of my money. Imagine I'm doing that every single shop over a year. I'm spending 10% less, oftentimes, than most people. So that's a little trick I use. It's expensive when you have to eat a lot of meat. That's one of the obvious things. Now, it's not expensive in the sense that you're an average person doing a carnivore diet. You've got rid of the seasonings, maybe the fruit juices, random condiments, things like that. That'll bump up your bill a lot. But what I've noticed is if you're eating a diet which is, say, a pound of beef, 6 eggs, a bit of cheese, and some butter, in the UK that would cost you maybe £8 a day, maybe, and that's a full diet for an average person. You know, a complete diet. For me, the meat costs so much, so I'm spending more. The thing is, I'm going to be spending a lot anyway because I have to eat a lot of food. So that's how I rationalise it. And again, because I'm disabled, I'm not going down water slides. I'm not going to the cinema every weekend. I'm not going bowling. I'm not going to football matches. I'm not sat in a stadium listening to concerts. So I'm quite happy spending my money that way, that I can still enjoy. I enjoy food. So, but for someone else doing my diet whilst being very physically active, or I guess you could say more mobile, yeah, it'll be a bit more expensive, I think. So it depends who you are. If you're Sean Baker, it's going to be expensive. If you're Dorothy from Alaska, who's 75 years old and 4 foot tall, it's not going to be very expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jonathan, if you had to describe the impact of carnivore in your life, what one word would you describe it, and tell me why?
Family. I think that's not often talked about much. Well, community might even be a better word. So I have an online community and global support system. I post something online. Someone out there will be grateful for the information or whatever it is, or they'll spur me on. That means something to me. They've donated 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes of their time to write out something to me, to say something positive. That always passes forward. So it's like when you smile on someone on the street, you smile at them. Over here, they wouldn't smile back, but maybe in the US, they might smile back, sort of thing. Then they might go, "Oh, I'm having a better day today." It's a bit like that. It's like a secret handshake between us carnivore folk. So oftentimes I'm talking to people. Sometimes I'm like, "Oh, you follow my sort of diet? That's interesting. Where did you hear about that?" "Oh, I heard about that from Dr. Chafee." I'm like, "Oh, me and Dr. Chafee, good friends. How have you not heard about me?" Nah. It's nice. It's nice in a sense because everyone knows each other in a way, like in all the communities. And for me, my mum went to. So I'm an international guest speaker as well as nutritionist sort of thing. So I do talks at different events and things. And my mum actually came to the last one with me. That was a nice sort of bonding experience. So she learned a bit more about the diet, the nuance, the science behind it. She realised, oh, it's not just my son doing it; it's all these people that are all experts in it and this sort of thing. So that was nice for me. So that's why I use the word community. So it definitely brings people together. I mean, I would not have had this conversation with you so far today, Joseph, otherwise. We'd be sat at home. You'd be probably working, whatever your given profession is usually. And I'd probably be lying in bed doing nothing but staring at a wall. So I can only commend the carnivore diet. So, I mean, even if for some reason, say I was allergic to meat and fish and eggs and everything, I couldn't follow the diet anymore, I'd still be in the community. I think it's that worthwhile.
Yeah, that's a really great description. Yeah, I like that. I do feel a sense of family, with the whole community doing this lifestyle. Jonathan, so knowing what you know now about carnivore, the nutrition, the lifestyle itself, if you can give an advice to someone who, might have had a chronic issue and they want to get better, right? And they're looking at carnivore, they see the improvement you've had, but at the same time, super skeptical, thinking they're going to get a heart attack, and it's not the same thing what their doctor is saying. What can you tell them?
I'd say be your own scientist, be your own citizen scientist. So a scientist is always trying to disprove their own hypothesis. Me, when I started the carnivore diet, like you, Joseph, I spent a good amount of months, I spent years, obviously, but I spent a long time sort of thinking, well, isn't cholesterol going to kill me? Isn't a lack of fibre bad for me? Isn't vitamin C too low? I kept doing the research. I was trying to sort of prove it wrong. I got to a point where I was like, I've ticked all these things off now. So fibre, vitamin C, went down the list. I got to a point where I was like, there's nothing really stopping me doing this. I can afford it. It's not a problem. I've got the cooking utensils at home. I have a shop where I can buy the food. There's nothing in my way. So that's what I suggest to people. So don't just do it because me or Joseph says in a podcast we've got all these benefits, blah, blah, blah. Try and disprove yourself, because when you disprove yourself, you'll uncover the whole other world around carnivore. The what we call my friend Phil Escott and I 100% carnivore and beyond. The beyond bit is the bit where we sort of think, oh, we'll look at the global food system. Oh, we'll look at the banking system. Look at how politics is run without going into it. Look at how maybe religion comes into food and impacts. Look at the epidemiology, what it's worth. See what's happening around the world in different diets. And you'll uncover so much information, much more than you probably get through me, and you'll find it out for yourself. And information that you find out for yourself is the information that you keep hold on. And I think that's what will keep people on a carnivore diet. So forget just listening to my testimonial or others. Find ways to disprove yourself, then you actually be more motivated to carry on, because you realise what will happen if you don't.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I like that. Yeah. And, I just want to answer this extra question because what about for carnivores who have been carnivore for over a year and, they started experiencing some negative things. Maybe they're lacking in electrolytes, or maybe they're experiencing oxalate dumping, and they don't know, they're not aware, but they experienced all the benefits before. What can you tell them? Do you tell them to, be patient, or maybe do some adjusting, tweaking, or listen to another carnivore who may have had a similar issue? It could just be like a sensitivity from, maybe eggs or another meat, Yeah.
I would say personally, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're accountable and tracking what you are doing. Therefore, any measurable success that you get can be put to a certain angle. It can be pointed in a certain direction. For example, I cut out eggs for 2 weeks. My digestion's better. There we go. Cut out eggs. There's your problem solved. You just have to pick one thing at a time. So try to only use tools based on the hierarchy of impact. So if, for example, someone's got a stomach ache all the time after their food, don't just think, don't eat food. That's a big lever to pull for a small, marginal, single subjective feeling you're getting. So what you want to do is say, well, what are the most probable causes? What are the most probable foods that will cause this issue? Maybe it's too much dairy. Maybe it's lack of sleep. Whatever it is, find a bottleneck in your life. So the people around you probably will say, oh, you're eating a lot of this at the moment, or you're not drinking much water at the moment, or I don't know, do you not add salt to your food? Listen to people around you because they'll spot things which you're doing which you might not even notice. So track what you're doing as best you can. What can be measured can be managed, in my opinion. That's the first thing I do. The second thing I do is get informed on whatever it is. So look online for different anecdotes, testimonies based on something that they've done. So, for example, if someone's saying, I'm not adapting well to carnivore diet, ketones isn't a thing you need to measure, guys, but you don't feel fat adapted because your readings are off, something like that. Well, what are people doing to increase those readings? Unpack that. Are you doing what they're doing? Yes or no? Okay, implement that change. Have you implemented that change? Yes. Has anything happened to benefit you? No. If that wasn't it, rule that one out. Get to the next thing. So it's just using a methodological approach. Tracking things, having a methodology, using a scientific approach. And beyond that point, if you get really, truly stuck, rather than throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks, I'd book a consultation with someone, but listen to podcast interviews with experts in that field. For example, oxalate dumping, you'd go to Dr. Sally K. Norton. If it was body composition, bodybuilding, you'd go to me, maybe. If it was plant toxins, you'd go to Dr. Chafee. If it is pathophysiology and biochemistry, you might go to Bart K. If it's biochemistry, you'd go to Richard Smith, I think. There's just a handful of people there. Like, if there's something particularly wrong with your body, you have experts in your field with a lot of experience and years in the game, lots of skin in the game as well. So that's where you go. So you have a tiered approach. So the people that I speak to in consultations are people usually have tried A, B, and C, and now they're like, I need to sort of work out what's going wrong here. And that's personally what I do. So it's a multimodal approach. You're not just trying something for the hell of it and leaving it in guesswork,
Yeah, I like this suggestion. Yeah, I think you go over, to see different, people and, anecdotal evidence as well. Yeah. My last question, Jonathan, is your future outlook. How do you see carnivore in the future? Do you see it being in a good light, bad light? Meaning, it could be meat price is going to skyrocket even more. Maybe censorship in the media, pushback. Also, the good thing is we'll hear more people wanting to learn about this because they're seeing a lot of healing, improvements, remission, curing. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of time frame, I can see it getting drastically more well known and understood and accepted in about 20 to 30 years' time. I've been following this very carefully on Google Search Console, and it's not going to blow up. Put it that way. It's not going to be 2030 and all of a sudden half the world's carnivore. That won't happen. But what will happen is there'll just be such an overhauling abundance of information on carnivore that when you type it in, the algorithms and AI won't be able to censor it. It'll be stopped. That's what I think will eventually happen. I think it will just get worse and worse from a cost standpoint until the actual places selling the stuff will lose business exponentially. We know for sure that we don't have to battle or contend with the vegan or vegetarian side of things. Namely, because I don't know what it's like where you're at, Joseph, but where I'm at, if I go to the cheap aisles where they got like reduced foods, yellow sticker stuff, whatever, discounted food, it's nearly always vegetarian burgers and sausages and veggie salady stuff. It's not often meat. That tells me people aren't buying that stuff, but they're being heavily sponsored and advertised to promote that stuff. Unfortunately, we don't have a strong presence in terms of scientific basis. We don't have a strong presence in the scientific community. People say, oh, there's this scientist, but I mean, I'm talking out of hundreds of thousands of scientists all around the world. Barely any know about the carnivore diet or follow it. That's where our bottleneck lies. So people will follow the science, even if they don't understand it, because everyone believed it was all safe and effective, as you know. We've learned differently now. So we're on a different side of the coin, but hopefully with the events that have transpired over the last few years, that people are more opened up and aware and accepting that there's different ideas, different ways to skin a cat. And I think that's where things will go. So I think it'll be a gradual incline, but we're not going to see a 20% boost in carnivores in the world at any time soon, that way.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. So Jonathan, if people want to reach out or connect with you, where's the best place to reach you?
Sure. So, first of all, thanks so much for the interview. I appreciate that. It covers some great topics. Best place to find me is probably carnivore-muscle.com, and that's my website. Otherwise, I'm also on YouTube, carnivore-muscle. Carnivore Muscle Pro is my new handle. I've got something like 900 videos. About 1% of my content you have to pay for, but I think I can get away with that 1%, guys. Other than that, you can find me on various different podcasts, live streams. I operate quite a few of them. I do Live with Rick at 8 on 1 p.m. Saturday UK time, or 8 a.m. Eastern time. I also do a podcast Thursday, 2 p.m. Was it 1 p.m.? I think it's 2 p.m. 2 p.m. Primal Pro Fitness podcast. And also my Instagram is Carnivore Muscle Pro. I'm sure you'll find me there as well. So you'll find me in lots of different avenues. My Facebook is a personal private account. So please don't add me unless you know me. Yeah, that's all really.
Awesome, Jonathan. I'm gonna make sure to post all of them in the description so people can reach you. Jonathan, thank you so much again for joining me today. I really enjoyed hearing your story, your carnivore journey, your perspective. I appreciate you taking the time to share. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks very much.